What's going on, guys? It's your boy, John the Liquidator, coming back with a major story, hot off the press. We finna jump right into this. So it looked like Mike McDaniel has sent a powerful message to the Browns owner, the Browns fans, and the Browns organization. He has just withdrawn his name out of the 5 candidates coaches pool. He do not want to go to the Cleveland Browns. Now, this is a very interesting turn of events. Mike McDaniel was like one of the first people the Browns had interviewed early on.
Now, I believe really tried to give up on this game. He tried to give up. It was clear as day. No one could say it on TV, but he tried to give up. And then he realized he couldn't. Why miss an opportunity on a onside kick just to try an onside kick after the Dolphins finally scored? That tells me right there he was trying to give up. He was like, all right, let me let the time run out. If we score, so be it. You know, most of the time it ran out. And then what? Mike McDaniel, he was trying to get back to that warm weather. He wasn't worried about this freaking game. He was trying to get back to Miami where the warm weather is and get up out of that cold and snow. He was sick of being up there. He wasn't worried about trying to get the football back into the tour. Finally threw that last touchdown. Then he realized he didn't have a freaking choice but to kick onside kick because the game was too close at that point. Dolphins were 2 scores away from potentially taking the lead.
They were like taking their time going into the huddle. I know the owner got to realize Tua is 0-6 in weather under 4 degrees.
Mike McDaniel just rejected coaching Shedeur Sanders on live television by withdrawing from the Cleveland Browns head coaching search 1 day before his scheduled in-person interview. And the reason why is sending shockwaves through the NFL and exposing something dark happening in Cleveland that nobody wants to talk about. Tom Pelissero broke the news that McDaniel is still pursuing the Ravens and Raiders head coaching jobs, interviewing for the Chargers offensive coordinator position, and has multiple OC offers lined up. But coaching Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland, he said absolutely not and pulled out before even walking through the door. And here's where this gets absolutely nuclear. Cleveland was one of the first teams to fire their coach. They've been searching the longest, and coaches are either withdrawing, not interviewing, or running away from this situation so fast that insiders are asking, what's really going on in Cleveland? Content creators are already saying, y'all can't put this on Shedeur, and warning people don't even try to push that narrative. But you know that's exactly what's about to happen. The league is going to blame Shedeur for coaches not wanting the job, when the real issue is something way darker involving Jimmy Haslam, Andrew Barry, and an organization that's looking real spooky to everyone in NFL circles.
Listen.
Tom Pelissero just sent out former Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel informed the Browns he's withdrawing from their head coaching search ahead of a scheduled in-person interview Wednesday, per source. McDaniel, who is still a candidate for the Ravens and Raiders head coach vacancy, is interviewing for the Chargers OC job today. He has multiple OC offers and could have a new home soon.
Okay, so obviously not great because now we are down to either Jim Schwartz, essentially. Jesse Minter's obviously in the mix, but it'll basically be Jim Schwartz or a young, unproven, unknown offensive coordinator.
Look, I need you to understand what just happened, because this isn't just another coaching search update. This is a rejection of epic proportions that's about to change the entire narrative around Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. And I'm telling you right now, before the mainstream media starts spinning this has nothing to do with Shedeur and everything to do with what's broken in that organization. Mike Pelissero dropped the bomb. Mike McDaniel, one of the brightest offensive minds in football, a coach who built elite offenses in Miami, a guy who was literally one of the first people the Browns interviewed, just withdrew from their head coaching search. Not after the interview, not after negotiations, 1 day before his scheduled in-person interview on Wednesday. He didn't even want to walk through the door. And you know what he's doing instead? He's still pursuing the Ravens and Raiders head coaching jobs. He's interviewing for the Chargers offensive coordinator position. Not head coach, offensive coordinator. He has multiple OC offers on the table and could have a new home very soon. But coaching Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland with full control as a head coach? Nah, he withdrew. Let that marinate for a second. Mike McDaniel would rather be an offensive coordinator somewhere else than the head coach of the Cleveland Browns with Shedeur Sanders as his quarterback. That's not about the quarterback. That's about the organization. The content creator breaking this down said it perfectly. Mike McDaniel has sent a powerful message to the Browns owner, the Browns fans, and the Browns organization. He do not want to go to the Cleveland Browns. And here's what makes this even more devastating. McDaniel had already done a Zoom interview with Cleveland early in the process. They liked him enough to schedule a second interview, this time in person. That means he was a serious candidate. That means Cleveland was actually considering him for the job. But something happened between that Zoom call and Wednesday's scheduled interview that made McDaniel say, "You know what? I'm out." Now, the Cleveland media tried to spin this as maybe McDaniel realized he wasn't getting the head coaching job, so he pulled out to make himself look better. And you know what? That might be partially true. But if that's the case, it raises an even bigger question. Why wasn't McDaniel getting the job? Because according to reports, Jimmy Haslam and the Browns organization want a young coach, somebody they can possibly control. And Mike McDaniel is young, he's innovative, he's proven, he fits exactly what they claim they're looking for. Unless what they're really looking for is someone who'll be a puppet, someone who won't push back, someone who'll do exactly what ownership wants, regardless of whether it's good for Shedeur's development or the team's success. And maybe Mike McDaniel looked at that situation and said, "I'm not interested in being controlled. I'm not interested in dealing with whatever dysfunction is happening in that building. I'm out."
Hey, man, this is the Sean McDermott update I want to share with y'all real quick.
Cleveland's interesting because if you guys remember, I think it was 2016, right? Paul DePodesta, correct me if I'm wrong, was very high on Sean McDermott, right?
That's
when they
correct.
hired Hugh Jackson.
Yeah.
And so, I think sometimes owners hang on to those things, So, look, Sean McDermott's a very strong head coach, knows how to build a program, and I think for someone, Sean McDermott is a credibility hire.
The content creator made an interesting observation. He said that when he goes on an interview and doesn't get the job, he feels some type of way about it, and he personally wouldn't want to come back there anyway. Y'all had the shot to get me. You told me I wasn't the guy. Now I'm the guy because I got a better resume? That's real. That's human nature. And it might apply here in a different way. Maybe McDaniel looked at Cleveland's situation, the dysfunction, the ownership interference, the constant coaching changes, and realized he doesn't want to be part of that circus regardless of how much control they promise him. But here's where this gets really dark for Shedeur, because now Cleveland is left with 5 candidates, and according to the media covering this, it's basically going to be Jim Schwartz or a young, unproven, unknown offensive coordinator. Jim Schwartz, the defensive coach, who already failed as a head coach in Detroit, or some coordinator who's never been a head coach and has no track record of developing quarterbacks. Those are Shedeur's options now that McDaniel withdrew. And you know what the worst part is? People are absolutely going to try to blame this on Shedeur. They're going to say coaches don't want to come to Cleveland because of Shedeur, because of his dad, because of the baggage that comes with coaching Deion Sanders' son. The content creator saw this coming and addressed it head on. Y'all can't put this on Shedeur, and you bet not put this on Shedeur, because that ain't right, bro. Shedeur ain't got nothing to do with y'all not finding a coach, so don't even try to push that narrative. Don't do none of that. Facts. Absolute facts. Because let's be real about what's happening here. Cleveland was one of the first teams to fire their coach. They've been searching the longest, and they still don't have a coach. That's not because of Shedeur. That's because of the organization. That's because of whatever is happening behind closed doors that's making coaches either withdraw from consideration or avoid the job entirely. The content creator said it's looking real spooky in Cleveland, and he's asking the right questions. Is Jimmy Haslam part of the issue? Is Andrew Berry part of the issue? What's really going on that's making coaches run away from this situation? There's an interesting subplot to all of this that we need to discuss, because while Mike McDaniel is withdrawing, there's talk about Sean McDermott potentially becoming a candidate, and there's some history there that matters. Back in 2016, Paul DePodesta was apparently very high on Sean McDermott when the Browns hired Hugh Jackson instead, and NFL insiders think sometimes owners hang on to those things, meaning maybe Jimmy Haslam regrets not hiring McDermott back then and sees this as a second chance. And you know what? For Shedeur's sake, I hope that happens, because McDermott has already gone on record calling Shedeur dangerous with elite tools. He's already praised Shedeur's game. He's already shown respect for what Shedeur can do. The insider described McDermott as a credibility hire for teams that need to show everybody that this is a real professional outfit that's going to be working to compete at the highest level. And honestly, Cleveland needs exactly that. They need credibility. They need respect. They need someone who can come in and immediately command authority and show the league that they're serious about building a winner.
Stephen Ross has canned Mike McDaniel. He is gone. Head coach, Miami Dolphins. That is head coaching change number 8 in the NFL. Riz, people really like his innovative offensive mind, but people think he's got a weird personality that rubs some players the wrong way.
There's nothing wrong with being a good coordinator and a bad head coach. There's a lot of people that fall under that, guys.
Would you want Schwartz as the head coach with Mike McDaniel as your offensive coordinator?
I take it right now.
The insider also made an interesting point about the Browns being a clean slate situation. He said it doesn't look like the best one on paper, but if a coach isn't wild about other rookie quarterbacks in the draft, they could look at Cleveland and say, at least I have a chance to kind of make this what I will of it. That's the silver lining for Shedeur, a coach who wants to build something from scratch, who sees potential in Shedeur's talent, who's willing to take on the challenge. That's who Shedeur needs, not someone who's running away before even meeting with the organization. But let's get back to the McDaniel situation, because the content creator raised some theories that are worth discussing. He said McDaniel either got hired somewhere else, or he just doesn't want to go to Cleveland. More options became available for him in LA, which is a way bigger market. That LA point is interesting, because if McDaniel is interviewing for the Chargers' offensive coordinator job, that's a significantly smaller role than being a head coach in Cleveland. But LA is glamorous. The weather is better, the market is bigger, the dysfunction is probably less visible. So maybe McDaniel looked at all his options and said, I'd rather be an OC in LA than an HC in Cleveland dealing with whatever's going on in that organization. And if that's the case, what does that say about Cleveland's situation? What does it say when a coach would rather take a lesser position in a better market than take full control in Cleveland? The content creator also mentioned that it's going to be very, very interesting to see what he says being the reason why, or when the news breaks, we find out why he pulled out on this. I'm telling you right now, we're probably never going to get the real reason. McDaniel's going to say something diplomatic about fit, or timing, or other opportunities aligning better. He's not going to come out and say, I don't trust that organization, or I don't want to deal with that dysfunction. But the actions speak louder than any press release ever could. He withdrew 1 day before his interview. That's all you need to know about how he really feels about the Cleveland situation. Now, the content creator went through the list of teams that still need coaches: Raiders, Ravens, Steelers, and he's questioning whether McDaniel is going to end up at any of those places. His theory? No. So if McDaniel isn't going to one of those head coaching spots and he withdrew from Cleveland, where does that leave him? Probably as an offensive coordinator somewhere. Which brings us back to the original point. He'd rather be an OC somewhere else than the HC in Cleveland. And the content creator's final point is the most important one. He said there's something cooking in Cleveland. It's a reason why coaches aren't even interviewing there. It's a reason why they don't want to come there. It's looking real spooky.
You guys don't know, Jimmy had some interviews Sean McDermott back in 2016.
Cleveland's interesting.
Now, with Sean McDermott, being interviewed back in 2016, ultimately he did not get the job. He went somewhere else. Now, if I went on an interview from somewhere and I ain't get the job, bruh, I would have felt some type of way. That's just my own personal opinion. I would have felt some type of way about it, and I per se wouldn't want to come there anyways. Y'all had the shot to get me.
Jimmy Haslam could be part of the issue. Andrew Barry could be part of the issue. Or it could be something else entirely that we don't know about yet. But whatever it is, it's real. It's significant enough that coaches are withdrawing from consideration. And teams are already narrowing down their coaches and making hires, while the Browns, who were one of the early teams to fire their coach and have been looking the longest, still don't have anyone. That's organizational dysfunction. That's a red flag that coaches around the league can see from a mile away, and it has absolutely nothing to do with Shedeur Sanders. So when the narratives start coming out, and they will, about how coaches don't want to deal with coaching Deion's son, or how Shedeur comes with too much baggage, or how the Sanders family is too difficult to work with, remember this moment. Remember that Mike McDaniel withdrew one day before his interview. Remember that Cleveland has been searching longer than anyone and still doesn't have a coach. Remember that multiple qualified candidates are looking at this situation and deciding they'd rather be somewhere else. That's not on Shedeur. That's on the organization. And anyone trying to spin it differently is lying to you. The content creator ended with the perfect message. Y'all can't put this on Shedeur. Don't even try to push that narrative. And I'm echoing that right now. Don't let them blame Shedeur for organizational dysfunction that existed long before he got there and will probably exist long after he's gone if they don't fix it. Because Shedeur didn't make Mike McDaniel withdraw. Shedeur didn't create whatever dysfunction is happening in that building. Shedeur is just a rookie quarterback trying to develop his game and succeed in the NFL despite being in one of the most unstable situations possible. If anything, Shedeur deserves credit for surviving his rookie season in that environment, for dealing with coaching uncertainty, organizational chaos, and a media narrative that's constantly trying to tear him down, and for still showing flashes of the elite talent that made him a first-round pick. Mike McDaniel withdrawing is about Cleveland's dysfunction. It's about ownership issues. It's about whatever is happening behind the scenes that's making this job unattractive to qualified candidates. It's not about Shedeur Sanders, and don't let anyone tell you different. So here's where we're at. Mike McDaniel withdrew from the Cleveland Browns head coaching search one day before his scheduled in-person interview. He's still pursuing Ravens and Raiders head coaching jobs, interviewing for the Chargers OC position, and has multiple OC offers. But coaching Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland with full control, he said no. Cleveland is now down to 5 candidates, likely Jim Schwartz or young, unproven coordinators. They've been searching longer than any team and still don't have a coach. And the reason isn't Shedeur Sanders, it's organizational dysfunction that's making coaches withdraw or avoid the job entirely. The narrative is going to try to blame Shedeur. Don't fall for it. This is about Jimmy Haslam, Andrew Barry, and whatever is happening in that building that's looking real spooky to coaches around the league. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is McDaniel's withdrawal about Cleveland's dysfunction or something else? Should the Browns pursue Sean McDermott instead? And will they try to blame Shedeur for coaches not wanting the job? If you made it this far, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this coaching search is exposing truths the league doesn't want you to see. Smash that like button and let's keep this conversation going. Peace and chaos.